Hi guys, welcome to my third vlog. Um, I'm sick right now, so if I sound a little congested and gross, that's probably why. So just bear with me. But I just wanted to talk about a couple things. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the minority myth model. Alua talks about it in chapter 14 of So You Want to Talk About Race. To refresh your guys' memory, she defines it as a collection of stereotypes about Asian Americans, presenting them as an ideal minority group in the eyes of white supremacy. Before reading this chapter, I never heard of this term, and it wasn't until it was given a name and we discussed it a lot in class that I realized how true and common I think it is in society. I think a lot of people view the Asian community, especially Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans, as the ideal minority when it comes to comparing and the way people are acting and should be acting. When the idea of having an ideal minority in itself is ridiculous, but I think it's important to talk about how these ideas and stereotypes are not only harmful to other minorities because you're constantly comparing them, but also extremely harmful to the Asian community as well, especially Asian women, which is something I want to focus on. So when you look at the stereotypes that Alua gives in the book, she gives examples like being smart or docile and quiet and submissive, which are things that might not seem the worst thing to be described as, but you have to remember the effects that they can have, like towards Asian women. Being viewed as docile and submissive can cause them to be fetishized a lot. I think this is happening a lot in social media lately, but they can be like fetishized, which can cause them to be at a higher risk of being harassed and sexually assaulted, which is not, which we something that we see but we don't talk about at all, which I think we should talk about more. But this is also an example of intersectionality, because Asian women are, this is an oppression that they're solely feeling due to the fact that they are not only Asian, but they are also women. And I think Alua summarizes the overall model myth theory in general perfectly when she describes it as seeming like it's benefiting Asian Americans when in reality it is only just benefiting white supremacy. I think it was Leah that mentioned in class that using this idea and applying this concept to other races, like using Martin Luther King, for example, as the ideal figure for fighting civil rights compared to Malcolm X because he took a more peaceful approach. And I think this is also so true, and it's a interesting way to look at it, because I think society does use certain individuals and stereotypes as a way to show the ideal way a certain minority should be acting. Okay, something else I wanted to talk about was also in So You Want to Talk About Race, and it was Alua's story in the beginning of chapter 12 about the scholarship conference she attended for students of color. This overall story was something that really stuck with me and upset me, because I think it's so sad that at such a young age, it wasn't until she attended this conference that she truly felt accepted in school. But she talks about how she never truly belonged until she was in a group full of people that were just like her. And a quote she said was, "For 2 days, I got to feel like the majority of my other classmates at school had felt almost every day, like a complete human being." So this also reminded me of the Rankin quote in Citizen when she said how Black people feel the most colored when they're put up against a white background. Alua in school constantly was being put up against a white background because the majority of her school was white, and having going to a convention where the sole purpose was for her to meet and connect with other Black students was the first time that she felt like she truly had to be herself and didn't have to constantly change the way she was acting and around her classmates. And I wanted to bring this up because I think Alua's experience and her story shows the importance of representation and having groups for people of color, especially at a young age, where Black students can come together and have an open and free environment where they can connect. In Alua's story, we can see how big of a difference it can make. And I think in general, not even at a young age, but in adult life too, I think it can make a huge difference. And as social workers and people who in general want to dismantle anti-Black racism, I think it is important. This is something important to remember and consider when we make and create our own groups and projects. I think we need to ask ourselves if people of color within our programs are being given a safe environment where they can connect with other people of the same race, especially if these environments have a huge white majority, which most of them tend to have. And if these programs are not put in place, that we are the ones to rally and support and suggest that they are being created so that they can be there and we can have them, because I think they are important. So yeah, that's all I want to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.